Greetings, friends, and welcome back to the Musings from the Mount podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Carenza. As we close out 2024, humanity stands at a crucial crossroads. Our increasing interconnectedness brings both challenges and opportunities, but what will guide us through? In this episode, we explore the heart as our evolutionary compass, not just as a personal organ, but as a universal instrument of consciousness and love. From ancient wisdom to modern science, we dive into why developing heart consciousness isn't just a spiritual idea, but a practical necessity for our times. Join us for a profound exploration of what it means to live from the heart in an age of transformation. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please consider going to meditationmount.org and donating. Your donation helps us to bring you this podcast, as well as all the other programs the Mount produces, both today and in the future. We're incredibly grateful and honored by your support. Okay, back to the podcast and the heart. As we record this, we're a few days away, a mere few days away from the end of the year, the end of 2024. And one thing we've noticed emerging is the necessity for being heart-centered, to say the least. As we bump into each other more, we're more connected, we have more access to data. We're asked to contemplate, to handle, to process so much more interactions, so much more than any of our ancestors could have possibly imagined. And I was thinking about this idea of telepathy and how the more that we're connected together, the only thing that will save us is the heart.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we have to be able to filter everything through the heart, through compassion, through empathy, through mindfulness, or else we'll sort of burn up from the throughput of the data,
Yeah. Well, now we get to the heart of the matter.
That's right.
Or a matter of the heart.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
So this is the third attempt we've had at recording this podcast. We sort of set it up twice before, and I've said to you like the evening before, Joey, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
And then I told you last night, I'm more ready.
More ready, yeah.
More ready because something happened. We just celebrated the holidays here, and I spent Christmas Day in sort of quiet, reflective mode here at the Mount. And something dawned on me, and I think that is really a good expression. Something dawned on you. It's like the light appears and you go, oh, right. But the thing is that the heart is no longer just a concept, something I understand with my mind. I allowed myself to let go and to step into the heart as a living reality, not as a, what do I know about the heart, but what is the heart as a living reality? And so this then allows the truth of the heart to reveal itself, to become realized, to be made real. And I guess that's what the whole journey of life is leading us from the unreal to the real through realization. And realization is those aha moments that get bigger and bigger until we go, oh, right, now I see a greater perspective. Now I see more through an expanded awareness, through an expanded heart. And it's interesting because this is the era of the heart. I do believe we're entering the age of the heart. And we, as part of our lineage here, we refer a lot to the Agni Yoga teachings, the teachings of the yoga of fire, the yoga of synthesis. And there the heart is central. It basically says the heart is the sun of suns of the universe. It's our inner sun. The heart, and it advises people, don't think of the heart as your own personal organ. It's a universal organ that is part of you. It is the connective tissue. It is the organ of communication, of communion, of cohesion with the cosmos. Therefore, guard the heart. It talks about guarding the heart, meaning keep it clean, keep it pure, keep it flowing. And so what I'd like to do is, rather than dive into some quotes and some thoughts, let's start by inviting all of us to just be aware of the beating of our own heart at the moment. It pulses through time and space. The rhythm of life is felt through the pulse, through the beat of the heart. And what it's doing, it's circulating the blood. On the physical level, it's an organ of circulation, of nourishment. And at the deeper, more refined levels of spirit, it is an organ of circulation. It allows the lifeblood of the universe, the chi, the love, that golden liquid of love, to flow throughout creation and sustain it, to nourish it, and to call forth further expressions, revelations. So for me, what I sense now is we can talk about the heart, but I invite people to, when you wake up in the morning, be heart-centered, as you said, Joey. What is being heart-centered? Oh, I got to remember to think from the heart and feel from the heart. No, actually bring your awareness from your mind into your heart and imagine your heart expanding to embrace yourself, the room you're in, the people around you, the world, so that the heart is the container of all the experiences for the day. I found that fundamentally shifts how I experience and how I show up in life. I just wondered, what's your experiences of being heart-centered, Joey? Because you mentioned that phrase to begin with.
I think it's the biggest significant shift in my life in the past, 6, 7 years. I've always had a very analytical, intellectual brain, very logical, very Virgo. Um, but my heart, the idea of filtering things through the heart, the idea of being heart-centered, that was essential to the changing my life, to my recovery, to being able to forgive people, to be able to ultimately forgive myself. And you start getting into this practice, and it is a practice. I mean, it's not something that maybe some people are just born magically so heart centered, and those people are probably born saints or sages, and they've probably been back a bunch of times. But this is a practice you have to work at, and it's for me, it's about what my heart allows me to do is to have that buffer, to have that moment where you can observe your emotions, where it's almost like a Neo in the Matrix when he stops the bullets coming in midair.
Right.
You're able, and you filter that through your heart in a way where you understand that, people might be shooting this energy at you, this emotion. Maybe someone might be angry at you. Someone might have cut you off in traffic, and you can find your common humanity. You can find your common compassion and empathy. And for me, that is part and parcel of me being able to just be in the world, especially with the heightened tension, the heightened everything which comes with our interconnectedness, with our ability to know what everyone's thinking in a moment's notice. That's a lot to filter, and that's a lot to filter through the heart.
Well, the heart is
Yeah.
the quantum computer of love.
Yeah. It's a great filter, the heart. Yeah.
It's a filter, but it's also the sensitive instrument that allows us to register everything. And as you were speaking, I was thinking of a sloka. A sloka is a paragraph from Agni Yoga that I was reading this morning. So just let me read it. I hadn't considered reading it, but you just promoted this. It says, just as the sun is the heart of the system, the human heart is the sun of the organism. There are many sun hearts, and the universe represents a system of hearts. That is why the cult of light is the cult of the heart. And by cult, they don't mean the way that we think of cult being this fanatical following of a person, but cult being the root of culture. It's the root.
Yeah.
It's the gathering together. So to understand, it goes on to say, to understand this abstractly means to leave the heart out in the cold. But as soon as the light of the sun heart comes alive, the need for the magnet's warmth will make it shine forth like a true sun. It has been said, let your heart lead you in crossing Santana, life. That is how you can make the concept of heart resistant to the cold. You can look upon the rhythm of the heart as the rhythm of life. The teaching about the heart is as bright as the sun, and the warmth of the heart speeds as swiftly as a sunbeam. Everyone has felt astonishment at how a ray of the rising sun can instantly insulate everything from the cold. The heart can do the very same thing. I am speaking of the warmth of the heart now that it is especially necessary. A thought surging forth in aspiration sets space on fire, while the warmth of the heart is a constant hearth. Courage dwells in the warmth of the heart. Remember this. The manifestation of the dark forces acts like frost on a sown field. Only the heart's warmth provides a radiant shield. But just as we conduct tests on light waves with delicate care, we should approach the heart with caution and solicitude. So that was, it's packed with stuff in there. I don't propose to unpack that, but just to say that's the message. Once we understand what it's about.
I love that concept of the heart as the sun. That's a beautiful, that scales well for me, that idea, because you think about the stars and then you bring it down to a local level, and we're all these stars, like our hearts, these stars in our local system.
Well, and the teachings also says the heart may be the focus, but it's the least egocentric of all, because egoism doesn't dwell in the heart.
Right. Absolutely.
That's one of the teachings of Agni Yoga.
Yeah.
Egoism doesn't dwell in the heart, but life is alive in the heart.
That's one of those ideas that just rings so true, because you really, when you stop, you think about, feel like where in your body do you feel your ego? It's not the heart.
No,
it's like that's very interesting.
And there's some advice that Agni Yoga teaching gives. It says how necessary it is that one learns to feel the heart not as one's own, but as something that belongs to the entire world. That's what I'm saying. It's a universal instrument that lives inside of us.
Yeah, it's like we grew up around, like our bodies grew up around the heart,
Right.
but it's not.
So basically, we're already connected.
Yeah.
It's a question of remembering, reconnecting.
Yeah, all these energy vortexes are connected together. And,
So I remember in a podcast we did recently, we were talking about moving from one age to another, the passage from Piscean to Aquarius, and from Kali Yuga to Satya Yuga. And then we had this image that we offered of, imagine how you open a combination safe, is when all the numbers line up, it goes click, and you can open the safe. Now, when you've got the cycles lining up, like wheels, whether it's the zodiacal cycle with a greater cycle of yugas, and it's cycles within cycles, when they all line up and go click, it opens the vault of heaven, and energy that hitherto was not available pours into us. Reflecting on Christmas Day on this concept, I suddenly realized, but it's the same with the heart. When I line my heart up with the heart of the mother of the world, the heart of the father of the world, the heart of my sisters and brothers in the human family, the heart of the rocks and the flowers and the birds and all the animals and the devas, all the beings that make up this incredible sentient being called Earth, when I line that up with the heart of the sun, with the heart of the galaxy, suddenly it goes click. And what opens up is this portal through which this greater love can flow. And I realized that when the greater love flows into us, we are in the presence of a greater love. And then we realize we are an aspect of that presence. So it's liberating, it's cleaning the channels, opening the doorways, initiating the portals and opening them up so that we can receive that which we already are from deep beyond time and space. But for me, the big aha, not in my mind, but in my heart, was hearts are connected across time, across space, across distance. Hearts are connected. And when I allow myself to be heartful and stand inside the heart, I am a timeless aspect of love.
Mm.
And those are not sufficient words to do justice to the sort of the feeling that I had, because it was like a deep reassurance and a sort of, it was like an act of grace. Somebody said, "Look, no, you are love. Your whole journey is to be love."
Mm-hmm.
Like we said, we did this series on initiation, and it got a little technical, and we explained, all the different steps and what you have to do to overcome this and pass through the portal and deal with the dweller on the threshold and the angel of the presence and all of these things. But in the end, you could say initiation, we described it as an entry or an expansion, an entry into a greater state of consciousness, awareness, and embodiment. What I now realize, initiation is simply a greater capacity to embody love.
Mm.
Initiation isn't this,
Right.
it means you're suddenly smarter, you've got more know-how.
Yeah, I love that.
It means love is more alive in you.
Yeah,
And so when you're fully initiated, you're the embodiment of love.
Yeah.
I mean, and so it took it out of this hard technical thing into
I love
heart.
that.
So
Yeah.
that's why I believe that we need to do that. And I did intend to read one sloka from the
let's hear it.
Agni Yoga, and I've already read a couple. But this is the one. It's number one. It's the first one in the book called Heart.
Okay.
And this one I will unpack a little because it's very powerful. To behold with the eyes of the heart, to listen with the ears of the heart of the roar of the world, to peer into the future with the comprehension of the heart, to remember the cumulations of the past through the heart. Thus must one impetuously advance upon the path of ascent. Creativeness encompasses the fiery potentiality and is impregnated with the sacred fire of the heart. Therefore, upon the path to the hierarchy, which means upon this path to this nested reality, these ever-inclusive spheres of being, upon the path of great service, upon the path of communion, synthesis is the one luminous path of the heart. How can the manifested rays be radiated if the flame is not affirmed in the heart? It is precisely the quality of the magnet that is inherent in the heart. The highest creativeness is imbued with this great law. Hence, each consummation, each union, each great cosmic unification is achieved through the flame of the heart. Verily, only through the heart. Thus the arcs of consciousness are fused by the flame of the heart. So he's basically saying, once we link our hearts with this whole chain, this nested universe of hearts, we come alive.
Mm. Yeah.
And love is born. The whole thing of the Word made flesh. If the word's love, well then what's our task? The ultimate task on earth, Joey, I believe, is to be a manifestation of love. Not in a sentimental way, but love as the very lifeblood. And as in, if you like, the juicy expression of God.
That loving radiation. I like that. That warm pulsing thing that connects us all. That's and that really rang true with the idea of initiation. It's like you just this increasing capacity, this increasing throughput of being able to hold more love and radiate more love, and that really rings true as the true lifeblood of this entire system, or the whole purpose anyway. That is to be able to hold that capacity.
If love is truly the essence of our humanity, then initiation is to grow our capacity to be the truth of who we are. And if the truth of our humanity is this splendid expression and realization of love, then initiation is the continuous flowering of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And we know when we look at a flower, I was looking at a rose that had just opened in the garden a couple of days ago. Not only is its form beautiful, its color's beautiful, but the fragrance.
Mm-hmm.
The fragrance is the highest expression of the rose.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most refined frequency that comes out of a rose. And I would say when the flower of the heart of our humanity opens, and its full beauty, its geometry, its coloring, all of that, and its sound is seen and felt, the fragrance of the rose of the heart when it's opened is love.
Mm.
It's the fragrance of love.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so sniffing a rose a couple of days ago, I went, oh, what if I could sniff the radiance of the heart, the one heart? What would it sniff? What would it smell like?
Mm-hmm.
Well, nature's given us a clue by saying, here's an example in nature.
Yeah.
You've got this wonderful flower, but now smell it.
Yeah.
And I remember my teacher in Denmark saying, well, one day when we're evolved, we will go out into the garden and we will smell the flowers. That's how we'll have breakfast and lunch and dinner if we need it.
I like that idea.
Because it's all energy.
Sure.
Once we've developed an ability to receive and absorb that energy, and guess what the instrument is? It's not just the nose.
Yeah.
It's the heart.
Right.
The heart receives the radiance of love. It transmits it.
Mm-hmm.
So the heart receives, registers, radiates. It's an organ of communion, cohesion. It is the central organ of the universe. And it's no accident that it lives at the heart. If you stand with your arms open in the form of a cross with your feet together,
Mm-hmm.
your heart is at the center of the cross.
Yeah.
And we've covered this in other stories,
Yes,
in podcasts when we talked about the Rosicrucian Society, the Rosy Cross, the rose that blooms at the center of the cross.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not just symbolical, that's for real.
Right.
And when you think of the planet Earth with its astronomical and astrological symbol and sign as a circle with a cross, when the flower begins to blossom at the center of the cross of the planet, what is revealed is this flower of love. And then the earth itself becomes an expression of cosmic love and becomes what's called a sacred planet because it emits light, but it's the light of love. It's not just a light on the scale of luminosity.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the heart, it's when I shift to the heart, it talked to in that sloka there, it's an organ of synthesis. The mind compares, and it does a great job in analyzing, and it does that by switching back and forth and comparing and drawing conclusions. And the heart just knows because it synthesizes. And when it synthesizes, it brings all the gifts together into one coherent field. And that coherent field can be read as the truth. And as you said before, when you were going through your recovery, the heart allowed you forgiveness because what it did, it stopped the mind game of comparing. You know, I'm nothing. I'm worse than that. I'm better than this. Because the mind compares, the heart holds unity. So anyway, I just wonder what else it pops up for you when you think about this.
Yeah. Well, I kind of mentioned before the show too how I wanted to maybe talk a little bit about the historical aspect of the heart and how, part of it was just that, daily life was such a grind and such a vicious survival game that maybe there wasn't as much time to have compassion or empathy. And, now as we move into what I believe is, the baby steps towards telepathy, it's become increasingly important that we're able to be heart-centered. And I wonder, like, what the historical context of that is, and what does that mean for us if we are to evolve here in almost in real time? Like, what does that mean to be able to, in these esoteric terms, to be able to operate from the heart?
Well, if we step back and look at the meta picture, and we've described this before, is that each civilization or each grouping of civilizations in this sevenfold turn of the spiral
Mhm.
of evolution of the human species develops, first of all, the physical, the emotional,
Mm.
the mental. The current civilization we're in has developed the mental. And now it's time to develop the heart,
Mhm.
the intuition,
Yeah.
that connective tissue
Right.
that brings heaven and earth together. And therefore, we're sensing what's next. And therefore, we have to grow the instrument and refine the instrument that actually is the place where love can flow, where intuition can flow, where separation disappears because it's an illusion.
Mhm.
Now, the mind can hold separation because it compares.
Right.
The heart can only hold a unified field. Therefore, anything held in the heart cannot be separate.
Right. Okay.
It has to be coherent. It coheres.
Mhm. Yeah.
So the heart is the field of cohesion.
Yeah. It definitely jives with, like, the heart is kind of like this magnetic vortex.
Yeah.
Like, because if that's the case, in much the same way like the sun is, or the center of the galaxy, or the center of the universe is this giant energy vortex. So.
Well, if you go back to the 1800s and Babbitt's atom,
Hmm.
it's heart-shaped.
Yeah.
And it's got all these vortices around it. Well,
Right.
guess what? That's the etheric picture of the physical heart. When you think of the heart at its deeper dimensions, it's this energy vortex. It's a portal
Mhm.
to life. It's a portal to the cosmos. It's a portal into and through this nested universe
Yeah.
in a limitless and eternal way.
Yeah. I really like that. And it's actually quantifiable. This the heart space, the kind of the energy space that you radiate from your heart, and how we're all walking around each other's spaces, and we're just,
Right.
some of us are more sensitive to it, the empaths and the people that are connected. But
Well,
yeah.
the big kicker is, and the big aha is when you realize there is only one heart. It ain't my heart and your heart.
Right.
That's why Agni Yoga says, please get used to the fact that this is a universal heart that actually lives inside of you. It's the same universal heart that lives
Mm.
inside everything. Guess what? You are joined heart to heart to heart to heart. I came across this wonderful saying in an email somebody sent me. It's a little story. It says, a physician once said, the best medicine for humans is love. Somebody asked, what if it doesn't work? The physician smiled and said, increase the dose.
I mean, that's everything right there. That's beautiful.
I mean,
Yeah.
that really says it for me. It
Yeah.
really, really is what it's about.
Mm.
So we talk about we're moving into developing the intuitive faculty, which is where telepathy is.
Hmm.
Telepathy is simply that we're in touch and we're in relationship, conscious relationship with all things.
Hmm.
It's no longer a concept, it's a living reality. Therefore, information flows, love flows amongst and between all hearts, all beings.
Hmm.
Therefore, we're moving into this new era, which is called the age of the heart. We talked about the end of Kali Yuga, which we're at the moment. And in that podcast, we said there are some dire warnings. At the end of Kali Yuga, there will be madness, there will be separation, there will be hatred. It's the last flaring up of the negative aspects of the Kali Yuga.
Hmm.
It's the heaviest of the four yugas.
Yeah.
And then we go, after the storm, we move into Satya Yuga, which is the regeneration, the new golden age.
Hmm.
And the new golden age can only be born through the heart. The heart is gold.
Mm.
The Solomon's gold is wisdom. And where does wisdom reside, Joey? In the
In the
heart.
heart.
Know this by heart.
That's right. That's right.
I know you by heart. I love that line from that song.
Mm.
Because I know you by heart.
Yeah.
I think Eva Cassidy sang that one.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway,
Wow.
I know you by heart. Which is right. Oh, I know you. I remember you from.
Right.
Oh, weren't you the person who? No, I know you by heart.
That's right. That's a beautiful idea, concept line.
Well, also the other thing that Agni Yoga says is that in the same way that a magnet attracts certain metals, you referred to a magnet just now, the heart attracts and accepts grace. The channels of grace are what allows life to flow into us.
Mm.
I've always said for the past couple of years when I seek to understand the power of gratitude, gratitude is how we say yes and thank you to life.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do that, we create a space for grace. And into this space, something enters. And what enters is not a being, it's not an entity, it's not something else. It's a presence.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely it. It's a presence. And the more you open yourself to it, the more you become aware of it.
And that was something I was reflecting on over the holiday now. What does it mean to stand in the presence of?
Yeah.
Rather than I've been in touch with this being or somebody visited me.
Right. No,
but
this is
if we believe that the universe is love, is an expression of love as a seed idea, and it needs to flower and be fully revealed, then that's the journey.
Yeah.
I
like how that dovetails with, we did all of these podcasts on initiation, and they're coming out, and man, it all comes back to love.
Well, and remember when we did the one on the second initiation and then the third initiation is that once you've gone across the threshold, and the threshold is barred, the way is barred by the dweller on the threshold who stands to the left and the angel of the presence who stands on the right. And you have to realize that these two poles can't stand in the way. You have to use their combined energy. You have to synthesize it. And when you synthesize it, you walk through, and what you meet on the other side of the portal is the presence. What stood barring you was the dweller on the threshold and the angel of the presence. The angel of the presence represents the presence, but is not the presence itself. So eventually, when we've opened our hearts sufficiently, we can receive that which we truly are in essence, which is the presence of love. And which is why I refer to deities as the presence of a greater love. They're just greater expressions of the love that lives inside you and me and everyone listening to this podcast. And we've learnt by degrees to give expression to that love. And every now and again, we do things that are unloving. And then the dark clouds come over and we feel remorse and we feel this. But in the end, the call is love.
Yeah, that when you were just bringing that up, it is interesting how when you do something that disconnects you from that or blocks that transmission, or blocks that energy, you really truly do feel alone. You feel outside or other than, and that's an interesting idea that when you are really connected, when you're truly heart opened, you feel that connection to everyone, to the world, to the universe.
And when you are connected and feel the world, Joey, what do you feel first of all?
Yeah.
Pain. Pain.
You feel it all.
When you open your heart, the first thing you receive is what's rampant in the field. If you look at all the great saints and the teachers, whether you look at the Buddha or the Christ or or whoever you talk
feel the
about, or
suffering.
Kuan Yin, the
Yeah.
first female bodhisattva, when their hearts were open, they registered the pain of the world,
Yeah.
but their heart was strong enough to hold the pain. See, the issue is you and I
Mm.
can get overwhelmed by pain,
Yeah.
and we have to sort of bring it down to something manageable pain.
That's true.
Pain management,
Yeah.
but the heart doesn't just manage pain. It holds it and transmutes it. The pain is like the poison
Mm.
that we have to transmute.
Yeah.
And therefore, the heart is the alchemical crucible. So it's said that, for instance, Jesus in the Bible, it said, was a man of sorrow, acquainted with grief.
Mm.
And when you read that, you think, oh, God, the guy was sad and sort of depressed. No, he was wide awake. His heart was wide open. And therefore, he was acquainted with the grief of the world,
Mm-hmm.
acquainted with the power of pain, but also, more importantly, acquainted with the transforming power of love.
Yeah.
And with the Buddha.
Yeah. The Buddha is the most. I mean, just because
Say what.
Yeah. I mean, everything is suffering. Life is suffering,
And what is the root of suffering?
yeah.
It's the attachment.
Yeah. The desire, the attachment, the expectation.
And so attachment chains you to the wheel of rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
And the Buddha preached non-attachment. And we've pointed this out before. It's our understanding that it doesn't mean you don't have feelings. It's just you're not attached to your emotion. It doesn't mean you don't have thoughts and beautiful ideas. It means you are not fixated on your beliefs as the truth.
Right.
So the path of liberation is to let go of everything you're sensing so that you can stand in the presence of that which you are sensing. Don't just sense it, allow it to become it.
Yeah.
Which is why we said we believe that the inscription over the portal to the mystery school of the modern era, in the Pythagorean days, it was man, know thyself.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's now person, be thyself.
Yeah. Love thyself. Yeah.
Love thyself, be thyself.
Yeah.
Be the love that you are.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. But it's a calling forth of what we are. See, before, the search was always looking for something outside of ourselves, the Holy Grail.
It really was. Yeah.
I've got to go out and find something.
Mm-hmm.
But what instead, we turn it around and say, it's a process of revelation.
Yeah.
I've got to reveal what's alive inside of me that has not yet seen the light of day, that is a promise that has not yet been fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
That's what initiation does. That's what the heart does. Without the heart opening and living a heart-centered life, the promise of the flower of who we are can never unfold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we have to hit a critical mass, or what? How does that work in terms of turning this up the next spiral? We need
critical mass.
Yeah.
Exactly. And initiation is also, it's said that when you go through initiation, when you've increased your capacity to be more knowing and loving and etc., you actually affect the frequency of your atoms in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And their frequency is heightened until you reach a point where a saint or a holy person radiates light. They have an aura around them.
Yeah.
Because they're not just made out of dense matter anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They've released the black light that is matter into the refined light of lighted love.
Yeah.
That's the initiatory journey.
Yeah.
It's not some, every time you go through the door, you're going to get a new badge to wear on your... This is not about how many badges you can wear on your cap. This is about opening the heart. So I'm just wondering, this is so vast, and yet it's so simple, Joey.
Yeah, that's
it's
the
so
interesting
simple.
thing, because it relates to everything we've talked about over the past 3 seasons of this podcast. And for me, like, man, it's so easy to just say love is everything. Love is all you need, and we've touched on that before. But it just seems now more than ever, it's so important. Like it's that obvious and that simple. But how do we on a practical level, how do we go about starting to incorporate that into our
Well,
lives?
it's interesting because you've got, for instance, you've got some very, very skilled people who have been doing really good work.
Yeah.
Um, let me see if I can find. I'm thinking of there's an organization called HeartMath, the HeartMath Institute,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was founded back in the early '90s by Doc Childre, and I've been following them, being part of them for a long time. I'm part of one of the projects that came out of them, which is Global Coherence Pulse,
Mm-hmm.
and what Doc Childress said in the beginning is that he said, accessing our heart's natural intelligence can create an energetic field of unconditional love and harmonious interactions, helping humanity to realize we are one earth, one yard, one people. So they, through scientific methodology and spiritual practice, have developed a protocol where you can align your hearts and minds, connect with others, awaken all your capacities, and understand that we are here to create a new world through the agency of the heart.
Mm.
And so if anyone is interested, go look up HeartMath Institute. I have incredible respect for them. In fact,
Yeah, they do great work, and I like the
well,
sort
they
of
do great work, and it's very
scientific
practical.
angle they take out.
In fact, they came to visit the Boeing company in early 2000 when I was there working as an organization development consultant. We were having, at that time, mandatory overtime to build some of the planes because the orders were behind. People were working 7 days a week. People were, it was a lot of stress, ambulances coming to the production line. And so what do you do?
Yeah.
Well, HeartMath came in and offered a possibility of being heart-centered in your work, reducing the stress by standing in a different place.
Hmm.
Now, not everyone bought into this, but there was a project that was started. I remember meeting with the founders. They came up to to Boeing. So I met with HeartMath along with some of the executives, and we looked at how can we do this because people were dropping.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not good.
No.
And so a lot of us I use that as an example, not to point my finger at any one company, but just to say many of us are under stress.
Yeah. That everyone can identify with that, I think.
And one way of handling stress is to stand in the deep peace of the heart
Hmm.
and to hold that as a raw energy that needs to be refined and transmuted.
Okay.
And I remember when I first got in touch with HeartMath, I went to their website and they had this wonderful little offering. They offered 12 tools for reducing stress and staying balanced. And so I remember downloading this PDF, and it may still be available, so you may want to go there. It's all about how you open the heart to create coherent communication,
Mm-hmm.
what they call compassionate latitude, which means your ability to take in the differences and hold differences and not get it.
Listen, that's important. That's timely.
Yeah.
You know.
And also the heart as a place to regain standing in dignity,
Mm. Oh.
which we would say standing in your own sovereignty, the truth of who you are, and to stand in a place where you can forgive, stand in a place of humility.
Yeah.
So the heart allows you to take a natural stance.
Yeah, it's a sort of the anti-Machiavellian approach because you can't. I think it's very difficult to get there just logically. You know.
Well, yes, you can't.
Yeah.
The mind can't lead you to the heart,
Right.
but the heart can power,
Yeah.
turbocharge the mind.
Yeah. That's quite a lesson, especially for us Western civilization folk. You know, we tend to take comfort and solace in the depths of our intellectualism and in our minds. You know, and sometimes to the great God detriment of our own well being. You know?
Well, the Tibetan master, the one who's part of the lineage that we follow, basically says the further you travel, the advice is simplify.
Mm-hmm.
And we've said before, simplify doesn't mean throwing away everything. Simplify means coming to the essential.
Mm.
And what is essential is love. It's the opening of the heart. And I've been in Italy a lot in some of the churches and see the medieval paintings, and you've got the Christ or you've got the Madonna, and their heart is pierced by 7 swords, and
Yeah,
there's all.
it's very
It's like you
graphic.
think, oh my God,
Yeah.
is it that bad? But basically, we've referred to this before. You can only love once your heart has been broken.
Yeah, it's
If
true.
you've got a virgin heart, it has to be broken by love.
Yeah, and that's that's something that anyone who's been through it knows. But like, it seems like that's such the most difficult way to go. Like, there's got to be a better way. But no, what is that about? Like, why is that such a truism that you really?
Well, because when you think of my heart gets broken, has
Mm,
been broken, and maybe broken again. It was broken because something disappeared that I believe was essential to me,
mhm.
whether it was somebody else's love, somebody else's, I needed to possess them,
Right.
and I lost it. And
Yeah.
therefore, I felt a heartbreak
Mm,
because in my heart, I was holding an image of what a perfect life for me looked like.
right.
Now, and then the Buddha allows us to sort of go, defrag that one and reduce
Yeah.
it to its bare minimum,
Hmm.
and through the practice of non-attachment. But what happens to me is that the pain was simply the non-truth.
Mm. Okay. I got to think about that, but
The pain was the
that rings
non-truth.
true. Yeah, that pain is a non-truth. Yeah.
And so my love for another person was real,
Hmm.
but my attachment to the need to have it be a certain form
Yeah.
got in the way of the love still being alive.
Oh, and that. Oh man, that's so true. I'm going.
I
I'm just
resemble
going.
that remark.
I'm just going through. Just did a quick replay in my head. I'm like, oh, that is true.
So that's
Yeah.
why the first thing you feel when the heart is opened is pain.
Hmm.
And then you understand what pain is. Pain is a signal that says we are not in alignment.
Yeah.
We're not in truth. We're not in true. And therefore, once we hold the pain in our heart, it dissolves because through love, through compassion, through synthesis, this whole thing of comparative thinking.
Hmm.
I've lost this. I don't have this. This person's got more. I've got less. All of that puts us into different states of being
Yeah.
disappears when you realize life is.
Hmm.
Love is all there is, as you say. I mean,
Yeah.
all of these things are true, but the problem is when they just remain as posters on our bedroom wall.
Right. Yeah. And instead of being embodied in your, and that's really, isn't that the trick or the rub or the man is embodying that and living that when you get cut off in traffic, so to speak.
Well, exactly. And that's why I mentioned just a while ago the whole thing of learning to stand in the presence.
Mm.
So for me, when I enter that space of grace where I am just grateful for being alive, grateful for the gift of life, not things, but life itself, life as a presence, not life as a collection of things.
Mm.
When I'm in that space, then things cohere, they come together. And then inside that space, just as we saw in that initiation, when you cross the threshold, you actually stand and meet the presence itself, or the presence inside you can then be revealed.
Mm.
And it's more veils until the final unveiling is that essential fiery presence of who we are, the monadic fire of our true being. And so for me, the whole journey now is to be here now, be present, and in that present moment of here and now, allow the presence, which is love, to shine through my every thought, word, and deed. Yeah, that's my aspiration. And at the end of the day, when I reflect, I went, well, you screwed up on this, you made, a little progress on that. But I don't get down on myself. I just note what the gap is. And then my resolve is to close the gap between the ideal, the promise on the inside, and that which I can realize on the outside. So that's why initiation is a process of realization and revelation. Revelation. That's why self-realization is the making real of the truth of who we are. It's not suddenly we're given this secret document with all the secret of life. There is no secret to life other than the love that comes alive in our heart. That is the secret. It's a secret love that is universal, that needs to be made public. That is the externalization of the Christ presence.
Okay.
That is the externalization of love, is when the word becomes flesh. And if the word that originated the whole thing is love, our task is to make love real. And it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Because our instrument has not yet been perfected. And so if we can play the song of our soul, which is really a love song, a universal love song, we need to refine our instrument so that it doesn't distort the notes. Then we have to join together with others in this symphony.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're about. It's a symphony of hearts. I know it may sound a little, whatever.
Yeah, it's something
Saccharine and sugary and that, but it's real.
Yeah.
The heart is where courage is born.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's the fire of the heart is courage. Courage, cur means heart. It's the Latin root.
Right.
It's the strength of the heart. And love is the lifeblood of the heart. And I go back to the work that we do here at Meditation Mount, and we referred to the 3 principles of essential divinity, goodwill, and unanimity. But if we look at them through the heart, essential divinity basically says, inside of each person is the presence of love. And life is a continuous journey into revealing that presence and making it real. Principle of goodwill. Love is the lifeblood that flows through the universe, through all of creation. It flows through us. So the whole journey is to allow love to flow through us and from us. And then the principle of unanimity, that we're all part of one coherent web of life, one interdependent, multidimensional ecosystem, basically said the whole thing is glued together with love. Love is the coherence. So unanimity really is the one heart, the one heart of the cosmos of which we are a part. And our fractals, because we're fractals of the one life, see these fractals as hearts. And life is simply how we commune across distance, across space, through love. When I think loving thoughts of another person, they are instantly touched by them. When I think negative, hate-filled thoughts, somebody on the other side of the world can be poisoned by my arrow.
Yeah. That's an amazing concept, and it's one that I think we're really starting to identify with and starting to understand. That and it is that interconnectedness.
So energy follows thought. We know that one. What if the energy itself is love? So thought becomes the way that we fire these aspirational arrows of love or these lines of communication.
Yeah.
How do you set up lines of communication? Well, what is the thread that connects us with each other? It's the lighted lines of love from heart to heart to heart. And when all the hearts are connected, you've got one coherent field, which is the whole thing of putting the puzzle back together from these broken pieces.
Yeah.
So Joey, for me, the heart is the solution. The heart is the practice. The heart is everything. So this is a journey that we can only take once we enter into the heart and allow the heart of the universe to enter into us. There is no book you can just read and go, oh, right, now I understand the heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Life is a lived experience, apparently.
Yeah. I like that. It's one of the few subjects where you really have to experience it. It doesn't matter how great of a book. I mean, the poets do their best to describe it, but until you've loved, until you've had that dance, you can't really understand it.
Right. So am I willing to allow love to
Yeah.
enter me? And am I willing to allow
Mm-hmm.
love to flow from me? Which simply means when you put them together, am I a being through which the love of life flows? To what degree can I create those conditions? And once we are free-flowing instruments of love, that is the fulfillment of the destiny of our human promise. I truly believe that. Beyond words, that's the flowering. Then we can smell the perfume of perfection. We talked about seeing with the eyes of the heart, listening with the ears of the heart. I'm going to add a new one now: smelling with the nose of the heart.
Yeah.
So, Joey, I'm not
Yeah.
sure what else to
Ooh.
say because I think for me that's enough words
Yeah.
from Michael. But
I
what would you like to say to sort of bring this to completion?
well, I liked this. This is how we're wrapping the year because in our community and in the circle of people out here in Southern California, and I know throughout most of the world, people are trying to balance this idea with looking forward to the new year, but also being unsure and being like just not. We don't know how to proceed, and I think this is exactly how you proceed. You just open your heart and you allow the energy of love to flow through you, to embody you, and you just you turn that love out into the world.
Well, and also the heart can hold past,
Hmm.
present, and future as one,
That's right.
whereas the mind can't.
Yeah.
There's past, there's present, and then there's the future,
Yeah.
and they're three separate entities.
Hmm. Yeah, that is true. The heart is the only place you can synthesize that.
You synthesize
Yeah.
past, present, and future because it's the matrix
Hmm.
of time, space, and substance in which love has to be born.
That's right.
And,
Yeah.
and the heart is the birthplace of love on earth.
Yeah. All right, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a great year, and we'll.
Yeah, thank you for this year, Joey.
It's been fantastic.
Yeah.
And thank you all for listening. And I hope you have a good new year. And we'll see you next year.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.